So Bulleh Shah continues, ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਢੂੰਡਾਂ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਕੌਣ ਸਮਾਣਾ, ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਅੰਦਰ ਢੂੰਡਾਂ ਫੇਰ ਮੁਕੀਅਤ ਜਾਣਾ. If I seek you outside, then who's in me? Am I saying the God inside me is any less than the one outside? So if I start my search outside, then who in me is actually talking right now? If I say you exist outside in some other world, or even in this world somewhere outside, maybe in some temple, maybe at some special place, then who's in me right now? And Bulleh Shah is saying, ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਅੰਦਰ ਢੂੰਡਾਂ ਫੇਰ ਮੁਕੀਅਤ ਜਾਣਾ. Your journey only ends when you become convinced that God, that Devi is inside me. And that's where I have to begin my journey. There was one thing I said at the retreat, I think in Geneva, somebody asked me this question. I talked about virtues. And I said, gratitude, empathy, compassion, and so on. They said, what about love? I said, love is not something you can say, I'm going to love this person, and you start loving that person. The absence of all the negative emotions marks the presence of love. If that negativity, if those emotions we hold in our heart, if they disappear, we'll feel in love naturally. So similarly, when it comes to searching God or feeling that presence or that oneness, it's those things we hold on to: grudges, resentment, and guilty. We have grudges against somebody, we resent some people in some way or other, and we sometimes are guilty of what we did ourselves. And then the other auxiliary emotions, jealousy, envy, and anger, and hatred, they all stem from these three core emotions. If I start to purify myself, if I start to work on these three emotions, then I will feel love. Until that time, it's not love. It maybe at the most is attachment. In love, you truly give the other person the freedom to do what they want to do. Unless that love is directed at children, in which case you don't give them all the freedom they want. Where a certain discipline is part of that freedom or that framework. सब कुछ तू है, सब विच तू है. You are everything and you are in everything. ते मैं तैनू सब तो पाक पछाना. And I find you the most purest, पवित्र. मैं भी तू है, तू भी तू है. It's a really beautiful devotional sentence. मैं भी तू है. I am you. And he didn't say that you are me. That would still signify some arrogance, some ego. He said, I am you, and you are you as well. मैं भी तू है, तू भी तू है. You are you anyway, but I am you too, And I'm not saying you are me, because that's what devotion says. Bhakti says, I'm an embodied soul, Jivatma. You can never be me. Matasthani sarvabhutani nach aham teshvasthita. Krishna says that I hold everything in me, but it doesn't mean that I've become that thing. There is a master and servant relationship between nature and me, Krishna says, between all the elements and God. Purush and Prakriti. Ithe bulla kaun nimana. So if I am you and you are you, then all is fair in your world. Then who's to judge who? Everything is just okay. Makke gaya gal mukdi nahi. ਭਾਵੇਂ 100 ਜੁੰਮੇ ਪੜਾਈਏ. ਗੰਗਾ ਗਿਆ ਗੱਲ ਮੁੱਕਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਭਾਵੇਂ 100 ਗੋਤੇ ਖਾਈਏ. To go to all these pilgrimages, they mean something, but that's not everything. It's not going to mark the end of your journey, even if you take 100 holy dips in the Ganges, or you read that Quran, Holy Quran, 100 times. Gaya gaya gal mukdi nahi pame 100 pand padaiye. Even if you go to Gaya ji and you do your own pindan and all those things, that doesn't really mean much at the end of the day. Bulle Shah, gal taiyo mukdi, jodo mainu dilo mukaiye. Your journey is going to end when you kill that man, that ego inside you. The ego that makes you think somehow A, you are better than others, B, you know better than others, C, somehow you have the right to judge others. And in the presence of any of these things, when you think A, you know better, and B, you are better, or C, that you are in a position to decide what the other person is doing or not doing, that means you have a sense of ego. And once again, there is no absolute nature. Sometimes you do know better. You know, if as a parent, maybe you're directing your child, or if you're a financial advisor, maybe you know better how to handle finances than somebody who's a chronic spender. You know, then it's a different matter. But under most circumstances, sirte topi ate niyat khoti, lehna ki topi sir tar ke. If I've got a beautiful hat, a religious symbol of some form, but my heart's not pure, what will that hat do? What will that headscarf do? Tasbih firi par dil na firya, lehna ki tasbih hath fad ke. वरना माला फिर तो जुग गया मिटाना मन का फेर, कर का मन का झाड़ी के मन का फेर. Exactly the same thing, that you're holding those chanting beads in your hands and they're going round and round, but your heart, your mind is still the same. That hasn't moved. Those beads are moving pretty fast, but that hasn't moved. So what is the sense? And maybe there is, in a parallel way here, in mantra science, as you progress, you stop using all beads completely. You either only use Akshamala, which is 50 letters of the Varnamala, or you use not even that. Sometimes you just chant. You just recall the mantra as much as you can while walking, talking, bathing, eating, you know, while driving, while doing anything. You try to be one with that mantra. चिल्ले किते पर रब ना मिलिया, लैना की चिल्लियां विच वड़ के. All those chille means 40 days sankalpa. For 40 days we did this, 40 days we did that, but you didn't find that divinity. Then what is the point of these various 40 days exercises? And here's a really beautiful line. I quite like this one. Bulliya जाग बिना दुध नहीं जमदा, भावें लाल होवे कड़ कड़ के. He's saying, Bulle Shah. So without that culture, you can't really turn milk into yogurt. भावें लाल होवे कड़ कड़ के. You can keep boiling it and it will turn into some other thing, maybe rabdi and all those things, but it won't turn into yogurt. Yogurt is not merely thickness of the milk. It requires that culture to be present. दूध में वो जामन चाहिए होता है, जाग. वो इतना सा चाहिए बस, just tiny bit, and the whole vessel of milk turns into yogurt. It just settles down. It's no longer just, it just settles down. It settles, to say the least. And I think that's the role of God in anybody's life. That's the role of a good guru in anybody's life. To act as that culture, which will then act as a catalyst so that you settle down and you can hold yourself together under most circumstances. Without that culture, whether that's a mantra, that's an emotion, a philosophy of life, any of your guiding principle, if you don't have that culture, then you'll never become yogurt. You'll have to keep living under artificial circumstances to sustain yourself if you are just milk. You will have to be in the fridge be cold, or somebody has to boil you to keep you longer. Right? You leave it out and it's going to go off in a day or so. So you keep getting tossed between this feeling cold and feeling, hurt, and or feeling boiled to retain yourself. But you become yogurt and you can stay in normal temperature for much longer. Or maybe you purify yourself. You get rid of the moisture of ego in you. And you turn yourself and you get rid of all the fluff you had in you and you turn into pure butter. And you stay a bit longer. And you purify yourself and you get rid of any ounce, the last vestige of moisture, of that selfishness, that self-centeredness, and you will turn into ghee. And ghee can stay for a very long period. You can put it in milk, it won't spoil it. You can put it in mithai, it won't spoil it. Wherever it goes, it'll just enhance the taste, and obviously some fat, but mostly taste. And that's the property of milk. That's the property of ghee. And that's the property more than anything else of purification. So whenever you ask me or anybody else, should I do this ritual? Ask yourself, is my intention to purify myself? Will I do it with so much devotion that I would really focus on it? That I will say, for 10 minutes I'm doing this thing, I'm only doing this thing for 10 minutes and nothing else. If I'm going to put that kind of devotion in it, by all means, do that ritual. Like I wrote in my post day before, that it only took one dip. Jin dhunda tin paya, pal bhar ki talash mein. It only takes one dip. We don't know which is that dip, when is that dip going to be, but we won't know till we keep trying. So giving up is not the option either. But the thing is, we do have to find out, we do have to repeatedly ask ourselves, we do have to continuously evaluate ourselves against our own actions. You are your own greatest benchmark. You have to set your own criteria. You have to give yourself your own, criteria of fulfillment and so on.